Hello friends and welcome to my another video on a topic which is known as motivation. As I keep telling you every time when I start with this session, before I delve into this topic, let me recapitalize as to what we did in the previous one. In my previous video, I talked about something related with morale, and I also tried to give you a difference between morale and motivation. Just to recapitalize, that morale is a kind of a group concept and motivation is an individual concept, and we were talking about morale. I gave you in-depth knowledge, or we discussed things at length related with the factors that are responsible for high morale, or what are the symptoms of good morale and poor morale, or maybe what is the relationship of morale with the productivity, and of course we discussed with the kind of 2 by 2 matrix in depth. Now today the topic that I am going to discuss with you is known as motivation. Morale and motivation, both of them they're related with each other. And we say that morale is the byproduct of motivation. That's what we learned in our times, and that morale is the byproduct of motivation. But the thin line of demarcation between the two is that morale is basically related with team or group, whereas when we talk about motivation, it is more of a personal aspect where the personal energies they get energized, and then people are willing to exert their effort. However, the morale is more related with the attitude part, and it is all related with the ESL, if you remember, that is the enthusiasm, the spirit and the loyalty level. So, the motivation is also related with that, but it is at the individual front. So, now let's have a look at this topic. Now, if I ask you, if you can see this picture, what you actually anticipate or what you can actually comprehend. Had we been sitting across the table, it would have been a wonderful interaction. But I'm sure most of them you must be thinking that okay, there are 3 hands trying to chase a carrot up where. But however, this picture reflects a lot of things and it speaks volumes about the topic that I'm going to discuss with you today. You can see on the screen that there are 3 hands and there's a carrot or a vegetable which is hanging from above. So, everyone is trying to achieve that. Why? Because people are motivated to get something which is going to be of their interest. So, this is the simple concept of motivation, that okay, where everyone is making an effort from within to attain the goals of the company, which are in sync with the individual goals also, is what is known as motivation. And motivation is again related with the achievement of the target, or in terms of the company, or it can be related with something else. Now, a simple example I'll give you. Now, people they can get motivated from anywhere. It's not necessary that you have to be motivated with the money, or money is of course a big motivator. But we can get motivated in any regards. For example, people who have won gold medal in Paralympics, one can see their videos and can get motivated. Maybe one sees very different kind of videos and then they can get motivated. So, one can derive motivation from anywhere. It can be with the help of your colleagues, your environment, your people, or maybe the people who are associated with you, or maybe the people who are not associated with you. So, in a broad sense, we know that it's a process of directing and channelizing the behavior of the employee towards the task performance. That's what I told you. That's all related with the target achievement. Then it's a process of satisfying the wants and needs. That is okay, you are inner self somewhere are happy and satisfied, and then you are actually encouraging others also to achieve the goal. Then, while motivation is an individual concept, morale is a good concept. The motivation takes into consideration that influence group scenario or the total work setting. We know that motivation is basically a concept which is for everyone. It can be for students, it can be for professionals, it can be for workers, it could be for the employees also. So, we know that if people are motivated, they will be motivating others also. For example, if the manager is motivating, then they may motivate their team, or they may motivate their staff in a great extent to drive the performance and the result and to improve the workplace morale. So, with the continued motivation, we can help to foster that kind of continued productivity and ensure that the output that is we are getting is of high quality work in the long term. And this motivation is basically a kind of combination of autonomy, mastery and defining the purpose is known as motivation. You are giving some freedom to people to work as they per their knowledge, skills and abilities. You are giving them time to become more skillful, and then there is more of role clarity among the people, and they know that what is expected out of them, and they are performing that level, or they are performing in that regard. So this motivation is a kind of a level of commitment, drive and creativity that definitely brings the teams together. And we know that in any organization, motivation plays a very crucial role, whether you are working as a team member or whether you are working as a leader. Naturally, motivating oneself and the co-workers, it will definitely help to drive the company towards success. Now, as you can see on the screen, as I told you that motivation is all related with energizing behavior, and once your behavior gets energized, it will get reflected in your actions. So, if an individual is energized, then naturally the whole team can get energized. So, definitely there is, you will only get energized when the drives are perfect, and when people are not deprived of their satisfaction needs or maybe the solutions, and there is no kind of disequilibrium, maybe the work-life balance, they are not stressed out, and all those things which have to be performed by the company or the organization side, all those things they are being done. Then it basically directs the behavior, which eventually gets reflected in the actions. Then we have got something which is known as the goals of the company. They have to be the clarity, the organization of effort, reaching the equilibrium. So, the equilibrium that we are talking about here in terms of motivation is all related with the needs. That means where people have got needs in terms of anything. There can be some kind of personal needs, there can be there can be need of a good work culture, good working environment, good colleagues, whatever. So, there is a kind of a drive that, okay, we need to satisfy this need, and when this drive is there, it will actually energize people to get satisfied. So, when people are satisfied with the working environment, with people, with colleagues and with everyone, there exists this kind of equilibrium, which my dear friends, which is very difficult to get in pragmatic life. But still, it is more a desirable concept. And once we are able to get that kind of equilibrium, it helps to maintain that kind of motivation. As I told you, I am reiterating that motivation is more of an individual concept, and once we are motivated, we can actually achieve a greater output, and basically it will definitely help us to be more focused. It will help us to be away from the distractions, and of course it will definitely help us to have the increased productivity. There has to be a persistent effort to be motivated from the individual end as well as from the company side also, and there has to be an ability to change the course. Importance of feedback, this is very important. If you remember when we were talking about the chapter or we were doing discussion on morale, feedback is very essential, because feedback will actually help us to improve ourselves. And definitely when we are improving ourselves, that means there is some kind of passion existing in ourselves to do our job better. So when we are motivated to work, it actually helps us to create a very positive emotional response to the work environment. So all these things are very important, that once we get good feedback, then naturally we can better control our emotion, and then we become more committed to the work and the performance of the entire company. Then this is the cycle again, identification of the deficiency of the needs, where we are actually lacking, because we want to strike a balance. So we need to find out the gap, and so once we are able to find out the gap, then definitely we can do wonders. So we come to know that why my people are not exerting, their efforts are not bearing fruits, or why is it happening. So my dear friends, if you remember the last lecture, if we also spoke about anything related to the morale and productivity. So there were two different situations: high morale, high productivity; low morale, low productivity. So these are the two extreme parts of those matrix, 2 by 2 matrix. So eventually we have to identify why my people are not happy and satisfied, which are the areas, which are the gray areas, which are the untapped areas, which need immediate attention of the management, and then the corrective actions have to be taken so that my people are happy and satisfied. And when people are happy and satisfied, their attitude towards the work will definitely change, their output will definitely change, it will eventually get reflected in the productivity, performance and the profitability of the company. So that identification of the need is of paramount importance. And above all, when one individual is motivated, they can motivate others also. Then we have to devise a plan as to how we are going to fulfill that kind of gap. Then we are going to find the execution part. Okay, for example, if I feel that my people are not happy and satisfied with the working environment or working condition, then the company has to take into cognizance things related with the health, safety and welfare. So if these provisions, they are well promulgated by the company, so naturally my people will be happy. So this is the kind of a plan that can be devised to fill up the gap. Then once the action has been taken by the company, then again the monitoring part has to be done of the motivation level, that before implementation how my people were behaving, after the implementation how my people are actually behaving. So it is important to consider the various factors that can actually improve the motivation effectiveness, that we can call it. For example, we can always evaluate the working style of the people, we can always understand what my target audience actually wants, or we can assess the different type of people we have in the group, or assess the personality of the people who are there and how they get motivated, or what are the needs that they want, so on and so forth. So these are the ways by which we can actually monitor. So at any point of time, if any program has been initiated, then the action has to be taken, that how we do it. For example, if my people are not happy with the salary figures, so in case if there is an increase in the salary figures, if this salary has been increased by a certain percentage, then we have to monitor, okay, before implementing the hike in the salary, what was the response of the people, and what is the response of the people after the implementation of the increased percentage. So that's how we can actually identify whether the gap has been fulfilled correctly or not. Then providing a feedback and adjustment, feedback with respect to the actions that have been actually taken. Or at times people feel that it can be related to anything. People may be dissatisfied because of any aspect of the work condition, or we can say the terms of employment. It can be related with salary, it can be related with benefits, it can be related with rewards, it can be related with absenteeism, discipline. So many things are there. So the company has to actually keep a very keen eye on identifying which are the gray areas, and so that the corrective action can be taken, because we need to strike a balance between the needs and the fulfillment of these needs. Then naturally, if the feedback is given, then actually we can come to know, and so it's a kind of a vicious circle. Things keep on moving, people keep on identifying, and then the corrective actions, they are always taken. Then it says that, but what happens when there is not enough motivation among the employees? So if in case if the people are not able to identify the gaps, so naturally it will result in less motivation, or no motivation, or demotivation. And so once we have got this kind of no motivation, so all 3P, if you remember, I keep talking about all these 3Ps in one of my lectures. It is all related with the performance, it's all related with profitability, and it's all related with productivity. So eventually all 3Ps will definitely come down. So once all 3Ps come down, they are definitely detrimental to the interest of the entire organization. So it says that according to Harvard Business Review, top reason as to why people leave their jobs, or why people are not willing to exert an extra level, or things like that. So it says that learning opportunities are not enough. Enough learning opportunities are not there. People are not motivated. The company is not motivated to provide the facilities to the people as they need, or maybe the proper feedbacks are not given, and maybe the bad bosses. This is all related with the leadership. This is all related with the leadership. The bosses are not good enough. They are very non-supportive, or they are not willing to provide with the resources, or maybe they are not ready to solve the problems, the grievances, the complaint. They are very unsupportive in every regard. So if people are not able to get that kind of support that they anticipated from the top management, so definitely that's a very, very demotivating factor. And whenever there is a kind of a demotivation, people are always stressed out. And when people are stressed out, so naturally their focus level is very low. So when their focus level is low, their frustration level is very high. So when frustration level is very high, they are not able to perform properly, and again it will have a deep impact on the 3 Ps. Apart from that, when people are not happy with the kind of job that they are supposed to do, or the kind of responsibilities that they have been given, they are not good enough to keep up the high levels of people, or maybe the level of responsibility, people are not happy, or at times they are given too much of work, or at times they are given less work. So both of them, they can be a kind of a demotivators. Then company culture is not good enough, the working environment, the working people are not good enough, caliber of the colleagues is not good enough, the targets are very high, but the facilities are very low, anything, they can be any kind of causes. Then growth potential, we know that when the company is giving a low quality product at a high price, so naturally it will not do the justice. So anything can be, there can be any possible combinations in this. Then lack of challenge. Now, the lack of challenge is all related with the job enrichment. Remember, we had a different session on job enrichment. So when people are not giving challenging jobs, there are no growth opportunities, there are no autonomy which is given to people, and no enough money, or enough money is given for extra efforts. So naturally all these things, they will make people very dissatisfied. Or the work environment issues related with anything. It can be with the lighting part, it can be with the sitting part, the environment, the colleagues, the superiors, the stakeholders, all those things. The salary packages, bonus, incentives, transportation, press facilities, anything. It can be anything. So all these things, they are a very, very demotivating factor. So when the demotivating factors are huge, naturally people are not able to survive the pressure that they have from the company side, and eventually it makes them to exit the organization. So the question arises is how we get that kind of motivation. So this motivation is actually, how do we get it? So it is in the form of autonomy, mastery, and this is the purpose is all equal to motivation. As I told you again, this is all related with my book. The charts that you see, the scanned copy charts that you see in any of my slides, they are from my book only. So what we can say is that motivation, there has to be a certain level of autonomy, the kind of freedom they should have some kind of freedom given to people in order to do the task that they want to do it. And we know that motivation is all related with the behavior, and these behavior, they will get reflected in the form of the actions. So we know that there can be certain motivational forces that can help us to observe the changes in the behavior that occurs in an individual. So that one of the motivational forces is the autonomy that I talk about. So it's like here the delegation of tasks, time management, proper communication, all these things, they should be well in place. Only then people will be happy and satisfied. Then the second mastery, it talks about the right training, right tasks, right support, experience. So we know that one of the principles of HR is that the right person should be there at the right place for the right kind of the task. So the motives are very, very clear, that the person should be having an upper hand in the kind of task the person is doing. So the training programs should be initiated, the right training should be imparted to the people, the right kind of work should be given to the people, that is the staffing function, that the right person in the right place. And of course, people also expect to get the maximum possible support from the management. So when people, they do not get those kind of supports, so definitely that is going to trigger some kind of unwanted behavior from the people. Then the purpose is like the individual and the group and the department. The goals, they should be very, very clear, and they should not be tangent to each other. So the goals of an individual, they should always be in sync with the goals of the group level or the organizational level. So definitely we know that all the combination of all these three things is what is actually motivation, and this is actually motivation, as I told you, is actually analyzed at the individual psychological level, and the attempt is also always made to understand why people act in a particular way, and they try to draw conclusions. So we know that there are different motivational factors that can help people to identify their own areas, and they can always feel happy and satisfied. What are the things that make them happy and satisfied and focused, and so that they are able to exert higher level of their performances. So we have to see which are the stages where people behave differently, or what are the gray areas, so that we can work on those gray areas, and then the corrective action can be taken. So this was all related with the motivation part. So it says that generally there can be some kind of 5 P's that can be initiated to motivate people. However, my dear friends, I have already discussed a topic on incentives and rewards. So incentive and rewards, maybe the fringe benefits also, they can be one of the ways by which we can motivate people. But I wanted to give you a different view of this motivation topic, so I thought of bringing 5 P's into this slide. And these 5 P's of motivation, they are basically related with the project, praise, prizes, prestige and power. So anyone who possesses all these 5 powers, naturally the person is very, very motivated, and there is high level of energy within each one of people to exert better results. So the first P that we talk about is all related with project. The project is all related with the kind of task the person is entrusted with. So the simple thumb rule of HR is that the right person should be recruited for the right kind of the job at the right time, for the right purpose. So here, if people are given tasks as per their own wills and needs and desires and preferences and tastes, so naturally people will perform in a better way, and when they perform, they get rewarded. Once they get rewarded and they get appreciated for the contributions that they made to the company's growth figures, so naturally it keeps the motivation level high. Then second is the praise, the encouragement. We know that basically we know that motivation is the process of inspiring and encouraging the employees. So this encouragement is very, very important part, or we can say it's a vital part of the management, because we know that people who are motivated, they are always target driven, and they will be, once the targets are achieved, they will be appraised, and the moment they are appraised, so naturally others will also get motivated to do the same. So and eventually it helps in having a very, very positive work environment also. So here people who are status driven or recognition driven, they should be given what they like. So even if they are making the slightest contribution, it should be acknowledged in some formal or informal way. That's what we can say in the case of praise. And praise definitely uplifts their spirits very, very high. And so if it is at the individual level, it is motivation, and if it is at group level, it is the morale. So if the individual is getting appraised, it's a motivation for others to perform better, so that even they get praised. If a group is getting appraised or encouraged, then it's a motivation for the entire other groups also. Then the prize for people who are status driven, recognition driven, affiliation driven or power driven can motivate them by using a reward system. Now this reward system, my friends, it could be related with the fringe benefits also. It can be related with the monetary and the non-monetary forms of upliftment or the motivation level, which we have already done in our previous videos. So you can definitely go back to the previous video and get a better hand in case if you have missed that. Then prestige for people who are autonomous, status driven and power driven, or the people who believe that the rewards are very important, the prestige is very important. It could be either the child, either it could be the worker, it could be the parent, anybody, because I'm talking motivation in a general way. So these rewards, certification, citations, they are play a very, very important role in giving that kind of prestige. So their need for affiliation, their need for some kind of respect, that gets satiated, and the moment it gets satiated, people are happy and satisfied. When people are happy and satisfied, they are motivated. And lastly, for people who are power driven or autonomous, we can motivate them by providing encouragement, giving some responsibility. Now, when we are giving responsibility, we are giving them some kind of authority. So, once we are giving some kind of authority, there comes some kind of power also. So, once there is power, so naturally people feel happy. Okay, I'm powerful. I can dictate terms as by my own will. So, the next slide that you see on the screen is again related with some basic components that in the case of motivation, we know that we have already talked about the cycle, and then we know that motivation process basically begins when there is an unsatisfied need in a human being. So, that need identification has to be there. There has to be an arousal that okay, there is a need that has to be focused, and then the direction. So, direction is basically the drive. Direction is basically the drive. That any kind of tension or uneasiness that one feels, there has to be a drive in human being that okay, there can be different ways by which this need can be satisfied, and people have to look at the positive aspects. Then is all the maintenance and then the goal. So, if there is a need, there has to be a drive, and then the drive it can be on the part of the management also to identify the gaps. If you all remember, we spoke about the gaps. So, we have to identify and maintain to fill, or we have to be very sure that how that gap can be fulfilled, or it can be filled for the benefit of the company, and then only all those things are possible, then the goal can be achieved. So, desire to make a good impression, there can be some kind of complementary work which one has to do, work hard and do some special forward. So, all these things they actually make a good impression. So, this is again all related with the motivation part, that in case if you are able to leave your impression, people are happy to see your behavior pattern and action pattern also, and it's definitely when that impression is made, so naturally there is a reduction of some kind of tension that exists. Maybe the person is when the person start feeling demotivated. So, here my dear friends, as you can see, the goal setting, people behavior is actually guided by the direction, and then specific goals are more effective. And goals mobilize the behavior, because we know that motivation are all related with the behavior and the actions. So, definitely goals mobilize the behavior, and feedback actually sustains that behavior. So, if people are happy and motivated, they are happy and satisfied, and if people are not happy and satisfied, then there can be different issues that can crop up, which have to be handled very deftly by the management. Now, having a look at this slide, this is a slide which talks about the job enlargement and job enrichment. In my previous to previous lecture, we discussed things related with the job enlargement and job enrichment. Why did I put this slide here? Reason being that whether it is a job enlargement or whether it is the job enrichment, both of them, they have the aspect of motivation. So, in the case of there are people who get motivated by getting some additional responsibility, so that it can be the job enlargement, whereas in the case of job enrichment, it is the vertical loading of the work which is being done, that comes with extra pay and rewards and responsibility, more challenging jobs and autonomy, growth figures, and so on and so forth. So, that is also a way of motivation. So, this is basically, I wanted to give you the gist that both the job enrichment and job enlargement, they are one which has the motivation factor in itself. So, it says that how we can get motivation in our organization. Before I proceed here, I would just like to give you a different gist on motivation also. My dear friends, there can be a different kind of motivation also. For example, there can be some kind of achievement motivation. For example, then there can be affiliation motivation, like people who want to get affiliated somewhere, people are getting motivated. For example, there can be some the competence motivation, there can be some power motivations, there can be some kind of attitude motivation, or there can be some kind of incentive motivation. So, it all depends how one gets motivated. So, there can be some kind of positive motivators, there can be some kind of negative motivators also. So, these are the motivators that people aim at. They want some kind of achievement, affiliation, or maybe the competence, or attitude, incentives. So, how you actually do it for your organization. So, simple is like how we can get that in our organization or in our organization. It is with the help of trust, pride, camaraderie. That means respect, communication and credibility. That is again TRS, trust, respect and support. That is actually needed. And if we are able to get that, so naturally my people are highly motivated. So, these motivation is like, we know that's more of a psychological concept, and it can pertain to any kind of achievement motivation where people want to attain goals and they want to achieve the objectives and advance the ladder of success. At times they can be the affiliation motivation where people would like to get affiliated with somebody, or they want people to compliment their work every time. There can be some kind of competence motivation also, that these people, they actually seek mastery, they take pride in problem solving, and they strive to create more of a different kind of a learning experience. There can be some kind of power motivation. People are driving to influence people, to change the situations. Power motivated people, they always wish to create an impact on their organization and willing to take up the task. Or at times it can be the attitude motivation. Attitude motivation is how people think and feel. It is their actually the self-confidence, they believe in themselves, their attitude to life, and definitely this is how they behave. And at times there can be something incentive motivation. People, they may have their change in the attitude with the kind of rewards and prizes that are associated. So, either it can be any kind of motivation. Ultimately, we need to have trust, whether it is like affiliation motivation, incentive motivation, attitude motivation, whatever it is. We need to take pride in our people because they are the biggest asset. And camaraderie is again trying to bring everyone together, maybe with the help of team building exercises, promoting teamwork, contest, or maybe the creating communities, anything. So, once if we are able to have all these, like trust, pride and camaraderie, it will eventually result in TRS, and TRS will again help us to boost up the 3 Ps, that is profitability, performance and productivity. So, these the 3 Ps, they actually go nowhere. So, every effort that is being exerted, it is for them only. Then what are the strategies for motivation? Definitely individually, if you want to get motivated, so there has to be a positive reinforcement. Now positive reinforcement, definitely there are people who get positively motivated. Positive motivation, it can come in the form of promotion, increment, bonus, respect, recognition. And at times there can be some kind of negative motivation also. It can be because of the fear factor, fear of punishment, so on and so forth. Then effective discipline, people should be disciplined, there should be adherence to the rules and regulation to be highly motivated, and we all know it's a very complex process. And then of course it also deals with how we treat people. So people have to be treated fairly, there should be no partiality, there has to be a transparency that has to be maintained, the needs have to be identified, the gaps have to be identified, the goals have to be realistic, they have to be smart enough goals that have to be achieved, and they should not be hypothetical goals. Restructuring of the jobs, maybe the jobs simplification, or maybe the job design concepts can be brought in here, and of course the rewards which are associated with the rewards that are associated with the performance of the people. So these are basically the strategies that can be implemented to boost up the morale of the individual, morale of the group, and motivation level of an individual, because human beings are ever changing, my dear friends. So human needs are always unlimited, and they keep on changing continuously. So motivation is a very dynamic and a continuous process that has to that we have to consider. Now here is a beautiful, I'll just take 2-3 minutes more before I wind up. Here is a beautiful relationship that exists between the motivation and morale, which was given by Monica Postel, and she dictated these terms that there's a cycle that keeps on going, and there can be different quadrants in which the people can be put. And at times the idea is, of course, to keep the people in a very, very comfort zone rather than the uncomfort zone. So this is probably the last slide. It says that there is a combination of morale and motivation. There can be different kind of zones: a party zone, efficiency zone, fear zone, and dread zone. The best part is the efficiency zone, there where people are very happy and energetic and very productive. Their contribution to the success of the company also. Fear zone is like employees are productive, but they may be overly stressed or are unhappy. If you remember, when we were talking about the morale and productivity matrix also, we came across such situation. Then it is the dread zone, where employees have little energy, inspiration, and productivity is also very, very low. Maybe this can be because of the lack of the initiatives that have been done by the company or the organization, or the kind of less support, or where the organization is not at all supportive, or the organization doesn't think about the well-being of the people. And lastly, it talks about the party zone, that employees are upbeat and energetic but may not be productive or focused. So here at times the more focused is given to people rather than the work. So one has to take into cognizance that what kind of focus they have, whether they have the work focus or whether they have the people or well-being of the people into consideration. So this is actually the 4 quadrants of the combination of morale and motivation. So naturally every company would like to keep their people in the efficiency zone, where the company is able to get the best out of the people that they have actually hired. So that's all I have got for you today in this topic of motivation. And I'm sure by this time you know what is the meaning of motivation, or what is the meaning of morale, and what is the basic difference between the two, and of course what is the meaning of a motivation cycle, or what are the factors that can actually can be taken into account while we talk about motivation. Thank you so much for your patient listening and watching this video. I shall catch up with you in the next one. Thank you so much and stay tuned.